The story took place in Antarctica. The weather could change without warning, and huge cracks were hidden beneath the thick ice. Jerry took Dr. McClaren and a team of sled dogs deep into the frozen wilderness. What started as a routine expedition quickly turned into a dangerous rescue. Dr. McClaren suddenly fell into the freezing water. Maya immediately dropped to the ice and stopped moving. She didn't dare go any farther. Following Jerry's commands, Maya slowly moved toward Dr. McClaren. She carefully carried the rope over to him. By then, Dr. McClaren's body temperature was dropping fast. He was also starting to lose consciousness. Following Jerry's instructions, he forced his right hand through the rope. Once Maya made it back, Jerry told all the sled dogs to pull together. With all their strength, they finally dragged Dr. McClaren back onto the ice. He had been rescued, but getting back to the station was another challenge. In weather this extreme, everything depended on whether the dogs could make the trip in time. To understand how they got there, we have to go back 2 days. Before leaving, Jerry introduced Dr. McClaren to his team. Maya was the lead dog. The black dog beside her was Old Jack. He was already 10 years old and close to retirement. The white dog in the second row was Shorty. Next to him was Max, the youngest dog on the team. The third row had a pair of twins. The one on the right was Truman, and the one on the left was Dewey. The injury on Dewey's head had come from Truman. At the back were 2 Alaskan Malamutes. The gray one was Shadow, and the reddish-brown one was Buck. Dr. McClaren was heading to Mount Melbourne, several miles away, to search for a meteorite. But it was only February, and the Antarctic ice was still unstable. Driving a snow vehicle across it was extremely risky, so the safest option was to let the sled dogs pull them. The dogs had been highly trained and were strong and tough. Even while pulling 2 adults and a full load of equipment, they could still move at a fast pace. Dr. McClaren quickly felt the speed for himself. As the dogs raced forward, Jerry and Dr. McClaren reached an area covered with thin ice. To spread out their weight, Jerry immediately changed the formation. He had the dogs move in a wide fan shape across the ice. It slowed them down, but it made the crossing much safer. As the lead dog handler, Jerry had to know every dog and understand the Antarctic terrain. After crossing the thin ice, they reached a glacier. Jerry immediately ordered the dogs to stop. The surface looked like normal snow, but huge cracks could be hidden underneath. Jerry had Dr. McClaren stay with the sled while he moved ahead with a probe. He had barely gone any distance when the probe suddenly dropped deep into the ice. Jerry knew there was a large crack ahead. No one knew how wide it was, so they had no choice but to take another route. Maya led the team in a new direction, but Max, the youngest dog, didn't understand why they had suddenly turned around. Jerry told Dr. McClaren to hold on tight and had all the dogs pull together. Running through snow was one thing. Pulling a heavy sled was something completely different. Luckily, the dogs were well trained. They quickly pulled both men past the dangerous area. After that close call, Dr. McClaren finally understood how dangerous travel in Antarctica could be. Luckily, the rest of the trip went smoothly. They eventually reached Mount Melbourne, but just after they set up camp, a new message came from the research station. A major storm was on the way, and Jerry had to return immediately. But Dr. McClaren still hadn't found the meteorite. He asked to stay a few more hours the next morning and make one final search. Jerry knew they might never get another chance to come back here. So the next day, after checking that the area was safe, he took Dr. McClaren back up the mountain. This time, they finally got lucky. Dr. McClaren found the meteorite before they had to leave. With the mission complete, the dogs immediately started pulling them back, but the rush trip had caused Old Jack's paw to become badly injured. Jerry noticed it and quickly ordered the dogs to stop. He began treating Old Jack's paw. Meanwhile, Dr. McClaren used the radio to contact the research station. He walked farther away to find a better signal, but that trip quickly went wrong. Dr. McClaren slipped and hit the ground hard. The fall injured his leg and put heavy pressure on the ice beneath him. Seconds later, the ice cracked open. Dr. McClaren had no time to move and fell straight into the freezing water. He wouldn't drown right away, but the below freezing water could make his body temperature drop within minutes. Jerry told him to hold onto the edge of the ice. Then he immediately took the dogs down to rescue him. That led directly to the scene at the beginning. Maya carried the rope to Dr. McClaren, while the entire team pulled together. They finally dragged him back onto the ice, but he had already lost a dangerous amount of body heat. On the way back, Dr. McClaren soon lost consciousness. At the same time, the blizzard became even stronger. Jerry suffered severe frostbite and could barely control the dogs. Luckily, they didn't have much farther to go. The dogs also knew the way back. They kept moving with the 2 men and eventually made it back to the research station. The staff rushed over and brought both men inside for treatment. Dr. McClaren was extremely weak by then. Jerry's fingers were also badly frostbitten. Both men needed immediate medical attention, but the storm was far worse than expected. The station director decided that everyone had to evacuate. Katie's plane didn't have enough room for both the people and all the sled dogs. Jerry wanted to stay behind and wait for a second flight to rescue the dogs. but staying in Antarctica much longer could cause permanent damage to his fingers. In the end, the director promised to have Katie return later and pick up the dogs separately. With no other choice, Jerry left with the others. Just before they departed, Max suddenly broke free from his collar and ran toward Jerry. To keep the other dogs from breaking loose, Jerry and Cooper adjusted all their collars before leaving. No one could have known that this decision would later put the entire team in danger. Finally, the plane took off while the sled dogs watched from the station. The dogs couldn't understand why the humans were leaving, but they remembered their training. They trusted Jerry and waited for him to come back. After returning to McMurdo Station, Jerry remained unconscious for 3 days. When he woke up, Cooper told him that everyone had made it back safely. Dr. McClaren had also survived the ordeal, but Jerry only wanted to know about the sled dogs left behind. He immediately found pilot Katie and asked about the rescue plan. Katie told him the weather was too severe. The entire winter mission had been canceled. They wouldn't be able to fly back to Antarctica until spring. After hearing that, Jerry went straight to the command center. He found the station director and demanded that a plane be sent back for the dogs. But the director explained that more than 200 researchers and staff were spread across the Antarctic stations. In conditions like these, getting everyone out safely was already the top priority. To make matters worse, the blizzard never stopped. The small planes couldn't take off because their engines could freeze at any moment, but large transport planes like the C-130 couldn't land directly at the camp. The commander wasn't unwilling to help. There simply wasn't a way to help at that moment. Jerry had no choice but to accept reality. He was a little frustrated with Katie, but more than that, he blamed himself. Just as Jerry feared, the sled dogs had already endured 4 days of the blizzard. They believed their owner would come back, so they could only stay where they were and wait for them. The cold wasn't the biggest danger. As long as they weren't injured, these trained sled dogs could keep going. The real danger was food. If they couldn't find anything to eat, they would eventually become too weak to go on. A few days later, Jerry was sent back to the United States. As soon as he got back, he started applying for funding. He hoped to return to Antarctica, but neither large nor small research teams had any new missions before August. If Jerry wanted to return through an official mission, he would have to wait at least 6 more months. Meanwhile, the weather in Antarctica kept getting worse. The flags at the camp were whipping wildly in the wind. The sled dogs were becoming more and more restless. Finally, one of the flags was blown down. Buck, the strongest dog, saw his chance. After struggling for a while, he finally broke his chain. Once one dog got free, another quickly followed. Shorty slipped out of his collar. Shadow also managed to break his chain. The remaining dogs worked together. One by one, they freed themselves. Only old Jack didn't move. He quietly stayed where he was. Meanwhile, Jerry had run out of options. He could only go to Dr. McClaren. Jerry brought the photos he had taken during the expedition. He told him everything that had happened in Antarctica. He hoped Dr. McClaren could use his influence to help his organization raise the money. If they could raise enough funds, Jerry could return to Antarctica. He wanted to bring the sled dogs home. 15 days quickly passed. The dogs had gone half a month without a proper meal. Then a bird landed nearby. Max immediately became alert. After going hungry for so long, this might have been their only chance to find food, but as soon as the birds took off, the other dogs chased after them. Only Maya stayed behind. She turned around to check on old Jack. Maya tried to get him back on his feet, but old Jack was too old. His paw was also injured. He simply didn't have the strength to keep going. Maya looked into the distance. In the end, she had no choice but to leave old Jack behind. She led the others on to search for food. The dogs chased the birds for a while. Then they realized it wasn't just one bird, it was an entire flock. But before they could do anything, Max started barking wildly at them. After just a few barks, the whole flock flew away. Just then, Maya returned. When she saw the birds land again, she moved to the front of the group. After a few calls, the other dogs quickly spread out. Then Maya called out to Max several times. The message was clear. This time, he just needed to stay quiet. Max obediently lay down where he was. Maya turned around and slowly approached the birds from another direction. Once she was close enough, she gave the signal. The other dogs moved at the same time. They surrounded the flock from different directions. Maya was the first to return to the meeting point. Soon the other dogs came back one by one. They dropped the food they had caught in front of her. Once everyone had returned, Maya picked up one first. Only then did the others start eating. Max, who hadn't helped with the hunt, also tried to join them, but as soon as he got close, the other dogs chased him away. Max had no choice but to leave. After a while, he carefully approached Shorty. This time, no one chased him away. Max quickly took the chance to eat a few bites. Meanwhile, Jerry had tried everything he could think of, but there was nothing he could do except wait. His home was just a converted RV. With his own money, Jerry couldn't afford to return to Antarctica alone. Soon, 50 days had passed. The fact that these dogs had survived this long in such harsh conditions was already incredible. One night, the aurora lit up the snowy landscape. The sled dogs, who hadn't moved around much lately, finally had a chance to run. But while they were playing, one of the dogs suddenly fell. Maya immediately ran over. It was Dewey. He was Truman's twin brother. The other dogs could only stay beside him. There was nothing they could do to carry him away. The next morning, the other dogs climbed out of the snow. They knew they couldn't stay there anymore. But Dewey, who was badly hurt, was no longer showing any signs of life. As the leader, Maya had to keep the others moving. Even though they didn't want to leave, they had no choice. But after all the other dogs left, Max stayed behind. He lay beside Dewey and refused to leave. Sometime later, Jerry returned to the sled dog training facility. All 8 of the dogs had grown up there. As Jerry looked through the photos from Antarctica, he told the staff everything that had happened. The people who had once cared for the dogs listened carefully. Then they told Jerry that the dogs had already done their part. Finding them and being willing to go back for them were 2 completely different things. If Jerry truly wanted to put an end to all this, he had to go back himself. Those words finally made Jerry decide what he had to do. He immediately went home and started packing. While he was getting ready, Jerry suddenly noticed an invitation. Before leaving, he attended the doctor's award ceremony. The doctor had received national recognition for successfully recovering a meteorite. After the ceremony, Jerry decided to leave for New Zealand that same night. He still didn't have enough money to go directly to Antarctica, but he planned to head in that direction first and figure out the rest later. Seeing that Jerry still hadn't given up on the sled dogs, the doctor began to reconsider the situation. When Jerry got home, his child was already asleep. Jerry happened to notice a drawing his child had made. The sled dogs in the picture were drawn as heroes. To the child, those dogs were the ones who had saved his dad. Thinking about everything he had experienced in Antarctica, the doctor opened his organization's funding records. There was still some emergency money available. By then, the dogs had survived alone in Antarctica for 152 days. Max, now traveling alone, made a huge loop and returned to the place where the doctor had gotten into trouble. Since he had been separated from the group long ago, Max still hadn't found any food. Then he spotted a stranded orca beneath the ice. There was enough food there to keep the dogs going for a long time. But unexpectedly, there was also a seal hiding nearby. Max was startled and immediately ran away. He raced toward an ice wall. When he looked up, he saw Maya and the other dogs arriving too. Max looked back at the orca. Then he decided to take the risk. He circled around from behind and carefully approached the orca. Then he deliberately barked a few times to get the seal's attention. When the seal turned around, Max quickly tore off a piece of meat and ran the other way. Taking advantage of the opening, the other dogs rushed toward the orca and quickly ate. Meanwhile, the seal kept searching for Max beneath the ice. After making a full circle, it realized there was no way out nearby, so it turned around and came back. Max thought the danger had passed, but as soon as he dropped the meat, the seal suddenly burst out from beneath the ice. Max immediately led the others into action. After a long struggle, they finally drove the seal back into the water. Then Max gently licked Maya's injured area. It seemed like he was urging Maya to get up and eat, but Maya was too badly hurt to lead the group anymore. Seeing Maya lying there, the other dogs stopped and stayed beside her. Meanwhile, Jerry had already arrived in New Zealand. He found some local fishermen and asked if they could take him toward Antarctica. He was even willing to offer them all the money he had. But this wasn't a matter of money. Ordinary boats couldn't get through the thick sea ice. To reach Antarctica, they needed an icebreaker. Just when Jerry had no idea what to do, a staff member told him someone had brought him a drink. Jerry turned around. To his surprise, it was Katie. Katie was a pilot. Her arrival meant things were finally starting to change. And Jerry was even more surprised to see that Katie hadn't come alone. Goubert and the doctor had come with her. The group didn't waste any time. They immediately boarded the helicopter. With Katie at the controls, the helicopter quickly took off. Once they reached the sea, they met up with the icebreaker they had contacted earlier. After clearing a landing area, the helicopter safely landed on the icebreaker. Now they could only wait. By then, Max had become the new leader of the group. Day and night, he kept watching their surroundings. But with the blizzard continuing, the dogs could do little more than huddle together for warmth. Meanwhile, the icebreaker ran into another problem. The ice ahead was still thin, so the ship could move normally. But once it reached the thicker sea ice, even full power wasn't enough to keep moving. They had made it all the way there, only to get stuck on the final stretch. Jerry had to find another way. That's when Goubert remembered the nearby Italian research station. They could fly there first, then they could borrow a snow vehicle and drive back to their camp. Once they had a plan, they immediately boarded the helicopter. After crossing a huge stretch of ice, they soon reached the Italian research station. Goubert already knew some of the staff there, so he quickly got the keys to a vehicle. After Jerry and Goubert cleared the snow from the entrance, an all-terrain vehicle finally came out. As long as they had enough fuel, it could take them across most of the difficult terrain. The group set off again. They crossed glaciers and snowy plains, heading straight toward their camp. By then, the dogs had been waiting in Antarctica for 175 days. Max had just found some new food. He carefully carried it over and placed it in front of Maya. To him, Maya was still the leader of the group. But after Maya stood up, she limped over to Max with the food in her mouth. Then she placed it in front of him. Max tilted his head. He didn't understand what she meant, but the other dogs already understood. Maya was handing the leadership over to Max. The leadership